So, somebody on the podcast became the owner of a proud new constabulary, a piece of land upon which a house is built.
Yeah, I've subjected myself to the indentured servitude of the government for however long I own this thing, because even if I pay the damn thing off, I still can have it taken away from me anytime I fail to pay property taxes. So yeah, I'm really coming up in the world.
Well,
thanks. I appreciate the celebration.
Well, if you only heard what happened just off the mic, somebody's breaking up the podcast. So it's a little bit hard to be so goddamn cheery right now.
Breaking up the podcast. Listen, folks, okay? And it's more than a month away because we got to do some fix-ups to the house before we move in. And we're going to be
got a fixer-upper.
Going to be some lag time after that before I can get my in-home studio set up. But yes, there might be some changes in the sense that we're going to go towards more of a live situation, which will then be recorded, and you'll get the regular episodes as usual. But you might get some extra content because now that I don't have to drive 8 years to see David to do every one of these podcasts.
You move further away from me. What do you want? I've been at the same spot.
We can since we're doing it remotely, we can do probably an extra one each week. So you're gonna get more content. So you're welcome.
Well, see if I'll fit you in my busy fucking schedule. Slapping my never
This
mind.
guy.
So
busy.
anyway,
Anybody buying that?
On a happier note, Dane, what are some of the things you're planning on doing in this new household? Hopefully walking around with your pants off.
Of course. I mean, it's not even your house until you do that.
Can I make one small suggestion?
You can make several small suggestions.
Can you leave one seat untesticled for the rest of your house guests?
Oh, you mean bare testicles?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to know that there's one parchment of land in your house that has not have your...
I'll designate it as such.
Yes, but just put like a little picture of testicles with like a line through it.
Yeah.
And that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's good. So
I can do that.
What other activities do you anticipate performing in your house? Like, are you going to be baking cookies? Are you going to be like... I'm not an indoor pool. You're going to have an indoor pool.
Yeah. And an indoor sauna and all that kind of stuff. Actually, most of the activities are going to be taking place outside. I think I am going to get an ice bath.
Okay.
I'm going to do that.
Well, then you're going to have a hard time kicking me out.
Money permitting, might put a sauna in out back. We'll see. We'll see what that costs. So, I'm going to get the boat.
I can already tell you what the sauna is probably going to be 12.
Yeah.
And then depending upon what you go with, you're looking between 12 and 8,000. Or not 12,000, 1,200.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting the Joe super nice one that he got donated, even though he could buy one every day for the rest of his life and never go broke. No. I'm getting one of these little like $200 ones that I get in Facebook ads.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get one of them bad boys.
Okay. Or we could just build one.
I am probably gonna need
buy a pickle barrel and just buy some insulation and just pick up 20 bags of ice each week.
I know, but I'm not sure that'll be that much cheaper. You go to Home Depot and get one of those, they probably charge you $150 for it. So why not just get a halfway decent one for a couple $100?
You buy once, you cry once, as a friend of mine once said.
Yeah.
And I feel like the $200 one, you're going to be like, this damn thing doesn't work at all. Like it's going to get it's like the above. Oh,
well, it's not.
Perfect analogy. It's like the above ground pool. Sounds like a good idea until it devalues your household.
Well, two things. First of all, it's mobile because we may not be in this house for more than 5 years. So I can just take it to the new house when it comes time to move. And second thing is it's not going to generate its own cold water. I'm going to probably get like a small but commercial size ice machine. Because your in-house ice machine ain't gonna produce enough.
No, I can.
So I don't need a huge one like big restaurants have, but I can get like a little, like a little mini fridge size one that makes ice, and that'll probably do me.
Okay, just pop it in there once a day.
That's my plan. We'll see. In there. As the old saying goes, man plan, God laughs. But
man tracht und God lacht.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I like it. Any other plans for the house? Is it going to be
I'm going to call you down and,
den of iniquity down there, hopefully?
I'm going to
just Loose women running in and out of the house all the time. Try not to wake up the baby. Obviously.
Exactly. I have a young daughter. I don't want her learning any.
Come on, strippers, in the back.
I don't want her learning any bad habits. But no, you single people, and not you as in you. But
got it.
you single people can bring all the strippers over you want.
You don't have any.
Mi casa es su casa.
Hey, hello, whores. Come on in.
No, David, strippers are not the same thing. Okay. Just because their job involves taking their clothes off does not mean.
Right. They do not trade goods and services for monetary value.
Or to put it another way, taking your clothes off might be necessary for the second job. It's required for the first job, but it's not sufficient for the first job to be equated with the second job.
So you're doing more work for less pay. It's fucking typical. These poor women. This fucking country makes me sick.
This world.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. God damn it.
Far be it from me.
You just taught me a lesson, Dane.
Far be it from me to tell somebody how to not pay for college.
Correct. Okay? Listen. We've all got fictitious colleges that
there's
we go
dignity
to.
in all jobs.
Of course.
Some less than others, but
you just
dignity nonetheless.
You taught me a very good life lesson. And that segues nicely into our meme topic of destruction today. And that's we learn how interest works. Should be captivating.
Guys, I'm going to try to make it fun. I promise.
You'll never guess who chose that topic. Culture Corner, Hunter and Trump timeline. It's like Sleepless in Seattle, but a little more treason, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Epstein didn't kill himself because he didn't. Looks like Lizzo took let them eat cake quite literally.
Many, many times over and over.
And was horrible to people and said that other people were eating too much cake.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then the main topic, put on your tinfoil hats, ladies and gentlemen, because SBF is going to take us to the land of Oz.
The land of...
Because he's the man behind the curtain.
I thought that was a Kansas thing. But
oh, yeah. I had it. Yeah. It could have been. It could have been.
Sometimes I like the way your mind works.
I try so hard.
I know. He does a great job.
So far.
Guys,
but in the end,
guys, go to the comment section.
It doesn't even matter.
And tell David that his parts of the show are your favorite. Even if it's not.
But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
But I mean, yeah. Anyway,
Lincoln
David,
Park.
Are you ready to do the thing?
Let's get glizzy, baby.
Let's do the damn thing. Welcome to Weapons and Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 157, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/157. You can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons and Meme Destruction, and you can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. Jumping into the meme segment of today's episode, we are tearing apart a meme by Existential Comics. And I've seen some of their drivel on Facebook before. This is formerly known as Twitter, now X, tweet. David was asking a good question about this.
I don't even know what you call it. Is it Xing?
Now.
I'm reading an X.
Yeah.
Like, so you're literally reading an X? No, I'm reading what we used to call a tweet, but it's an X now.
Yeah. And I don't know from this screenshot, I don't have a date or anything. I don't know if this is a recent one. It doesn't really matter because this is a particular meme from the progressive left, which seems to bask in their ignorance. Have you seen anything like it?
Well, when you can't call them stupid because it hurts their feelings, and as we all know, how many people die from hurt feelings every year, you can't. It's a genocide of hurt feelings.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like is it pride? I don't know. They just seem very happy with themselves for not only not knowing what the fuck they're talking about.
They're ignorant.
Right.
And they revel in it.
But it's, like I said, it's more than that. They're ignorant, but they're happy that they are. And they're almost like go out of their way to beat you over the head with their uninformed opinion.
Yeah. It seems to be pretty prevalent on that side.
Tell me, psychologist guy, what's the pathological diagnosis for something like that?
Pathological diagnosis?
Is there?
Well, let me put my
Yeah, remember that shit you learned in undergrad like a decade ago at this point?
You didn't have to say how long it was.
Oh my God, it's been more than
yeah, motherfucker. You're in the same boat as I am.
Shit.
Yeah, Yeah, old
Anyway.
And I'm not the one that just bought a house. I'm still out here in the renter zone, partying my little testicles off. Mentioned testicles a lot this episode.
I know.
I'm going to try to pull back on it.
You got a lot of testicles on the mind. What's up with that?
No, they're where they should be. It's not on my mind. It's just... Sometimes you just go
on your mind and apparently at the tip of your tongue. I don't know what's going on here.
I was just about to say that and I stopped myself because I almost Anyway,
enough back to
flagellation here of testicular fortitude. Yeah, no, it's very egocentric, narcissistic, typical shit. It's just I view the world this way and you have to see it my way or else you're a Nazi, call me. It was like a trickle down. It came from the top. Anybody that doesn't agree with our beliefs, automatically they're a Nazi or racist, this, that, the other. So when it comes from the top and you hear that every day, then you start applying it to your own life. And when you start applying it to your own life, you become what they are doing. So instead of thinking that you have to have like rational opinions and thoughts and be able to back them up with like actual tangible evidence of why you have that, they've thrown that all aside for many, many years now. And it's just boiled down to, I see it this way. And if you don't agree with me, I don't even need to listen to your opinion.
You're a bad person.
You're a bad person. I'm good. Yeah. And everybody on my side champions everything that I say. So if you aren't one of us, you're an other. I don't have to listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
Which is really bad.
It's a really clever...
It's not good for society. I can tell you that much.
It's a really clever rhetorical trick by wrapping your ignorance in unjustified morality. Because...
This will come into play later, by the way, because this is a part of Epstein.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right.
And so if you say that I hold this opinion, then it doesn't matter if it's uninformed or that I didn't even undertake the somewhat difficult and sometimes easy task of educating myself before I open my mouth. But I've wrapped it in this layer of morality such that if you point out why I'm wrong or uninformed or otherwise disagree with me, I get to call you a bad person. And that insulates me from my own, or from having to grapple with my ignorance, or from having to say, you know what, you brought up a good point. Let me go look something up and try to inform myself. You don't have to do any of that difficult stuff.
That's called growth, Dane.
Yeah.
You don't have to grow.
Yeah.
You can just stagnate.
Which these people never do. So let's get to what exactly was said. What's the meme? And this is a timeless meme. You can listen back to episode 157, 200 years from now, and I'll guarantee you there will still be more on saying this. So anyway, putting up here next to me, nameless, faceless guy, is Existential Comics tweet or X or whatever. And he has this to say, quote, "Rent is theft, profit is theft, interest is theft. Look, it isn't complicated." That's my favorite line. Look, it isn't complicated. I mean,
don't look any further than what the things I'm saying are right now.
Yeah, when you take no effort to even understand the most baseline understanding, to obtain the most baseline understanding of what you're talking about, I guess that part's not complicated.
Even on that, it's not. It's not just that simple. Because rent, who built the house for you unless you built it yourself? And on what land? Who owns that land?
Yeah.
Like,
and how are those things acquired?
Just even on the stupid words that he's already vomited out of his mouth or her mouth or its mouth or their... I digress. Whatever they're saying, it didn't even make it past the smell test with the first 5 words that he said.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry we editorialized. We looked as complicated. Back into the rest of the tweet or whatever. And which, by the way, I'm just going to keep calling it tweets until we find out what the other name is.
Until Papa Musk hands it down.
Musk, why'd you have to like make it complicated on us?
You know what I want to sing now?
What?
Avril Lavigne.
No.
Why'd you have to go and make things so complicated?
God. Anyway,
Things like this, you.
back to the tweet. It says, look, it isn't complicated. If you are making money and that didn't come from your own labor, then it is coming from someone else's labor. You are stealing their money. Now, using the word labor like this, we are hearkening back to and where this person's entire economic theory
Wait until
is
he
still
finds out about taxes.
based in the completely debunked Marxist labor theory of value, which modern day there, and believe me, I'm not saying this jokingly, there are actual real life economists today, trained economists who consider themselves Marxist economists. But anyway, there are real Marxist economists today who don't even ascribe to the labor theory of value because it was destroyed by David Hume, literally the second it left Marx's pen. So the fact that this moron is not even aware of his own ideology of Marxism, that the labor theory of value has been long debunked, is telling in and of itself. But to take, before we get back into the rent, profit, and interest as theft thing, to take the idea of making money and looking at it in this reductionist way, that the only way that money comes into being is through the exchange of labor, just doesn't even pass your simple, average, everyday experience, right? So if I have an idea and I say, hey, go do this thing, and that idea makes a whole bunch of money, I can still get paid for that idea, even though I didn't exchange any labor for it. I mean, unless you want to quantify my neurons rubbing together that came up with the idea as labor. But my idea can pay me a whole bunch of money. As a matter of fact, some of the people that make the most money in this world made it off of ideas. How did Bezos get so rich? He had an idea for how to make supply chains so efficient and cost effective and so reliable that billions of people every year use his service, which has made him at one point the richest man in the world. So, I mean, it doesn't even
Why isn't he the richest man in the world again?
Elon passed him up.
Why is that though?
Why? I don't know why.
Because he got halved, Dane.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, that'll take the
That'll do it to you.
That'll take the skip out of your step.
Yeah. So, anyway, rent is theft. We're just going to go through these first three real quick, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Rent is theft. Okay, nameless, faceless person behind the account of Existential Comics. If I'm renting from somebody, that means I didn't have the money to put the down payment, or as David was alluding to buy the land and the raw materials to build the house. Somebody did. And I woke up one day and there was a house there. Well, somebody bought that. Somebody had the money to pay for it. I don't yet. So in the interim, I'm renting from that person. Why would it be considered theft if we have a voluntary exchange and he has the house and I want the house, to say, yeah, buddy, I'll give you some money for me to live in this house? It's not theft. That's
exchange for goods and services.
I'm going to say the R word at the risk of getting canceled. That is retarded. In the classical sense of
TikTok. Can we call it TikTok?
You are mentally defective if you are equating a voluntary exchange of rent between a landlord and a renter as theft. Not even close. David, anything on rent before we move on to profit?
The more we talk about this, the more what's the name of this place? This
Existential Comics.
Existential Comics. Like is it comics like jokes, or is it comics like books? Like comic books.
Like comic books, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically, their brand is they take
because I was thinking
like famous philosophers like Sartre and Kant and Aquinas and all that kind of stuff, and they'll use kind of their theories and they'll make comics of them arguing with each other over funny. So it's like more of a highbrow thing, but then on the side they do all this Marxist stupid cult of envy.
Because with us going down this line, I'm having an inception moment. Maybe it's like parody. Maybe they were being funny about this and they were putting it up.
These are sincerely held views from them.
But you would understand like how this would be a good ploy, because I mean, even if it was parody and it got us, it's because everything else that comes from that side seems so like ridiculous, but then they're like, no, we believe it. No, a man can have a baby.
Yeah.
Men can have a baby. They can give birth. Like, oh, fuck. Okay. So everything that comes from that side has to be, vetted. And I'm just going to assume now if you really truly do believe that, then I just have to assume that everything from your side has to be taken with a gigantic grain of salt. And then we have to shout it down. So I was just hoping to save them
from themselves.
How'd
that work out for you, David?
I threw that lifesaver out and they're like, no, I can do it, but throw a bigger one later if I need it. Come back and find me.
Profit. Very similar to rent in the sense that, let's say I have saved my money. I have foregone purchases in order to save my money so that I could buy a little building and make widgets. And now I have a business. And that business gets successful just on my own sweat equity. But eventually it gets so busy that I can't do the work myself. So I say, David, how about this? Let's agree. I'll give you so many dollars an hour, but in exchange, you're going to make these things for me and I'm going to sell them for more than what I pay you to produce them. Still a voluntary exchange between us. But if I don't make a profit on David's work, then guess what? David doesn't get a job. So if I undertake all of the risk and all of the late nights and sweat equity before it becomes a profitable business in order to be able to hire him in the first place, why should I, what is morally unjustified about me selling products for more than it costs him to make it? I mean, David needs a job. He didn't want to or didn't have the ability.
And then also, not to mention the fact that, like you said, you took all the risks. So if this whole thing goes down, I'm just out of job. You're out probably your life savings. You got to rebuild, whatever. Yeah. So again, it's the juice worth the squeeze. If you want to take the big risk, you should get the big reward. If you don't want to take the big risk, you should get less of a reward.
Exactly.
Fucking alchemy. It's just, you put in, you get out.
As they would say, it's not that fucking complicated.
It's not that complicated, fuckheads. Look it up, bookworm.
And then nerds. Finally, interest, probably the more complex out of the three, but I promise you, even it's not that complicated. Interest is just based on the time value of money. And what that means is every person, just ask your next 10 friends and all 10 of them will say yes. Do you prefer thing X today versus tomorrow? Everybody has a short time preference, meaning they would rather if they're going to eat the loaf of bread, they'd rather eat it today than tomorrow. And so if they forestall that consumption, then the value of forestalling that consumption is what interest is. So I have $10. David wants to buy something today for $10. I also want to buy something today for $10, but I say, David, I'm not going to spend my $10. I'm going to give it to you so you can get what you want today. Pay me back tomorrow, but just give me $11 because I want to spend my 10 today. But since I'm waiting so you can spend the $10 until tomorrow, I want you to give me an extra $1 because that money was more valuable to me today than it is tomorrow. That's it. That's interest. That's all it is. It's somebody who saved lending to somebody who wants to spend. Again, there's no theft in that because I could just keep my $10 and spend it and then David doesn't get his thing, but I can make the voluntary choice to say I want that extra $1, so I'll give David the 10 today so I can get 11 tomorrow. Again, not that complicated, certainly not theft.
For a burger today.
Yeah.
Old Popeye. So many life lessons.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of spinach and some grotesque tumors in your forearm and you can beat the shit out of a guy that tries to steal your hideous girlfriend. Learned a lot.
True life lessons of Popeye.
Yes. Thank you, Popeye.
Anyway, so now in a 5 to 10 minute segment, you know more economics than does existential comics. And so when you go and have these conversations with friends, you won't be near as uninformed and you can tell them, listen, guys, it's not that complicated and I don't need to shield myself in false morality to pretend like I know more than I do.
Is listen to WMD podcast and you're going to be just like me, super smart and attractive and like all the chicks want me.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Exactly.
Or, dudes or whatever you're into. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're good for your health.
We take all comers.
And your libido.
I knew you were going to like that one.
I was trying to
sometimes I phrase things unintentionally wrong,
used to say,
sometimes I do it on purpose.
It used to be a thing that I don't know if we can say it
is
anymore. It used to be like when you'd say something, you just really quickly go, no homo. Is that illegal now? Okay.
I think so.
The PC police will come and get us.
Of course.
All right, let's just skip on to the culture corner.
Let's do
Hunter and Trump timeline. Now, this gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean it's so in your face that you can't help but think that they think that you're stupid.
Yeah.
Is we dumb?
They either think you're stupid or that they just have moved to the point of they just don't give a fuck.
No, we're going to do it
anymore.
anyway. So.
They know you're not going to do shit about it. So, like, be audacious.
Why stop? What? Fuck it. Why didn't Hunter just come on and do a line of coke off of Biden's wife? Right off her chest. Like a real savage idiot.
Wait, that would be his mom.
No, it's not. That's not his original mom. He remarried. His original mom died in the car accident, remember?
No, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Jill is not Hunter's mother?
Nope. Second wife. Second marriage.
Learn something new every day.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Nameless, faceless guy. Star, please.
I was watching back the other day, one of the couple of episodes where you did that, and he didn't do it.
No, he didn't. What the fuck are we paying him for?
Apparently we're paying him to take, just unannounced.
Huge vacations to the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
Bringing 27 children with him.
Unannounced, unsanctioned.
Would you call that a colony? A colony of children? Just
a phalanx.
A
phalanx of children.
This is all like I'm just picturing like tiny little Spartans just.
Shields up, spears over your brother's shoulders.
Let no Spartan's blood spill today. Okay.
All right. Anyway.
Before I digress.
Anyway.
He's not that cool. Don't think about that like that. All right. Before you can think of that nameless, faceless guy is like awesome.
Yeah. Think twice.
Don't.
Anyway, so we have
Can't even put a fucking star
a timeline. I've seen it in a couple different places, but we're going to give credit where it's due. This is a tweet from an @Greg_Price11. I don't know who Greg Price is, but
you do now. You do now, champ.
This is the convenient little screen grab I had just to make sure I get these dates and events correct. So we're going to give you a series of dates, and we're going to see if you can figure out the connection between these. All right, here we go. June 7th. I'm assuming, yes, these are all 2023.
Those most depressing day of our lives when democracy almost died.
June 7th, 2023.
Oh, not Jan 6th.
I'm reading in the 2023. That's not in his tweet, but I mean, you can see it here, nameless face, but for the audio listeners.
Oh, he'll put that up, will he?
Yeah. June 7th, quote, FBI releases documents to Congress alleging the Bidens took a $10 million bribe from Burisma, which was the Ukrainian energy company that Hunter sat on the board of, and despite having no experience in energy policy whatsoever. June 8th, very next day.
He's got a lot of energy, Dane.
Jack Smith indicts Trump in the Mar-a-Lago documents case, the unclassified documents. Okay. So, the Bidens kind of step in it, might capture some headlines about their...
They're probably already going to do it
about
anyway.
Their corruption. So, I guess it's just a coincidence the first time.
Quinky dink.
That the Trump case, has a big event the very next day. Fast forwarding a little over a month, July 26th, Hunter Biden goes to court and rejects the sweetheart plea. You'll remember this. We covered this a couple episodes ago on the podcast. Rejects the sweetheart plea deal after it was revealed that the DOJ tried to give him blanket immunity from future prosecutions. July 27th, very next day. Jack Smith adds more charges for Trump in the Mar-a-Lago case. And just a few days after that, July 31st, Hunter Biden's former business partner testifies to Congress that Joe Biden was on over 20 calls with his son's business partners and that Burisma execs pressured them to fire the prosecutor. Now, you'll remember White House Press Secretary Jeanine Pierre. I always mess her name up. Karine Jean Pierre.
Yeah, Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre. Karine Jean-Pierre. Anyway, when asked directly
it's Karen
about Joe's involvement with Hunter's business dealings, she said very repeatedly and flat out, Joe had no idea, no connection, no knowledge of Hunter's deals. Anyway, just food for thought. So that was July 31st that Hunter's former business partner tested to Congress about that. And then the very next day, August 1st, last weekend, Jack Smith, August 1st was Tuesday. Yeah, a couple days ago.
Yep.
Jack Smith indicts Trump again for January 6th. Now, all within 2 months, we have 3 instances where a big Biden corruption thing leaks or, comes out to the media. And the very next day, charges get further ramped up on Trump. Now, again, regardless of whether you think that the charges against one or both of them are valid or not, I would posit to you the following, these words of wisdom to live by. Once is an accident, twice is a trend, 3 times is a habit. I'm not so sure that we're at coincidence level when it happens 3 times in the period of 2 months that a Biden thing happens and the very next day they drop some major news on the Trump case. So, or cases.
It's getting to the point where to even have this conversation, it's not fun anymore. It was fun a little bit to just
can't come up with more jokes.
I can't come up with more jokes anymore. I've heard such vitriol, and then about Trump. It's always about Trump and how he's the worst thing. He's so corrupt. He's this, that, and the other. It's okay. So again, I hate saying this because, as we say on this podcast all the time, you have to keep talking to each other. You have to respect each other. You have to, you can have political ideologies that are different from your other person. You can still respect them as a person. However, to have a conversation about Trump, I'm just trying to help my liberal friends that definitely don't watch this podcast. I'm trying to help our Republican friends that may or may not watch this podcast. If you're Australian, you're doing great. What I will say is that if you want to have a conversation about this, about anything that's going on with the Trump indictment or the Hunter indictment, you have to come to an agreement. You have to say that if you're talking shit on Trump and all the things that he's doing wrong, you don't get whataboutism anymore. You don't get it. You've lost it. Because what's happened is that you're worried about documents that may or may not have been, what are they saying? It was a threat to national security, right?
Properly declassified. Because presidents take things with them all the time. The question is, did he go through the proper procedures to declassify it to be able to have them?
Correct. Now, you can't say that unless you're willing to admit that your guy definitely, probably, most likely committed treason. You don't get to have that conversation anymore because we're not, again, to go back to the first topic and to go back to the topic that we always say and what we've been saying for years is that you have to, if we want to solve things, if we want to move forward, you have to delve in reality. We can't dither in, la la land where you think that everything that your side is ever doing is right. It's not. If your side, let's play a hypothetical. If your side found out, and I think we mentioned this on the podcast, that there was a WhatsApp message between a Chinese cabinet member and Donald Trump Jr. saying, I'm sitting with my father and we're wondering why we didn't get paid, you could have heard the collective money shot from Washington, D.C. down here in our terrorist state of Florida. You could have heard it from there. You would have felt was that an earthquake? No, it's just all the Democrats coming at once. They would have gone in so hard on Trump and Trump Jr. that you wouldn't have even, the indictment would have been handed down the next day. The second day they would have convicted him, he would have been hung on Thursday if it came down on Monday. Now you're worried about papers that were locked away in Mar-a-Lago, whether he should have had them or not, beyond the point of contention. Whatever. I'll steel man it and say he shouldn't have had it. Your dude is getting paid by another government, sitting in the highest position that we have. Supposedly the leader of the free world might be bought and paid for. That's what you were just saying 4 years. 4 years of Trump, you were saying that's what he was. Now your guy is definitely that, and you are still more concerned about Trump. You are sick. You need help.
Which, and to tack on to all of that, the reason why, in large part, why he is the leader of the free world, and we covered this at the time, is because all of this stuff that's coming out now was on Hunter's laptop that you weren't allowed to learn about before the 2020 election, and was probably a conspiracy theory if you did, which, by the way, and what we talked about at the time was the polls amongst Democrat and likely Democrat voters, when they asked them after the 2020 election, they said, if you knew about the Hunter laptop story and its validity before the election, would that have changed your vote? And it was not an insubstantial, again, this is just off the top of my head memory. I think it was something like 20+% of Democrat and likely Democrat voters said, yes, I would not have voted for him. Now, whether that means they would have just stayed home and not voted at all, they would have voted third party. Would they have voted Trump? Probably not. Doesn't matter. He didn't win by a massive margin that if he lost 20% of his support, if they would have found out that this happened, then that would have probably altered the outcome of the election. Now,
so wouldn't that
all
be
of that
tampering?
Is within the context of exactly that, election interference.
Which is what they said Trump got in with, right?
Yes, in 2016. So again, just further bolstering David's point that, if you have friends or family that are still unironically putting this up as, well, Biden's the lesser of two evils. We got to elect him the first time and probably again to save us from Trump and blah, 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 blah. Again, that's not an endorsement of Trump just as much as it is to say that they're both trash. And if you are unironically supporting Biden just because he's not orange man bad, then you are exactly what's wrong with not only this country, but humanity.
Well,
your inability to engage in self-reflection and use your critical faculties outside of what Don Lemon tells you to think makes you a problem. You're a menace to the entire species.
And you're a threat to democracy.
Yeah.
What you've been claiming,
very
the other side
specifically,
is you are willing to aid and abet treason just so that your ideology is upheld.
Or so that orange man doesn't get elected.
It's same difference.
Even
it's the same dog in a different fucking package.
Yeah.
It's like you again, I know you guys think you're coming from a great place, that you want to help everybody and that all your ideas are great. Great. Cool. That works in religion. To steal a term from our boy Trump or their boy Trump or whoever's boy's Trump is, sounds great, doesn't work. Anyway. Come back to reality, guys. We'll let all this other stuff go, but you have to let this go. You have to let that your side is always right and the other side is the biggest threat to democracy. Actually, you are. You are literally the people that were, Adolf's a great guy. Did you hear he had humble beginnings? Yeah, he's all for like got to make Germany great again. And anybody that's, you know what?
Gave free healthcare.
He gives us free healthcare. He's giving us things. He's helping all of us. And you know what the problem is with this democracy? Those Jews. That's what you're saying. The Republicans. So just replace Jews with Republicans and you're doing the same thing.
Or, I mean, even if not Republicans, anybody who disagrees with you by 5%. And this is a nice little segue into the Epstein segment in terms of this sort of totalitarian mindset that cannot handle a modicum of disagreement. Forget disagreeing on the big issues. If you disagree with them that the marginal tax rate should be like 0.03% lower, then that probably makes you a racist, fascist, Nazi, bigot, whatever. Like these people that think like that, they have super, super tyrannical tendencies.
By the way, not so it's lost on our viewers or anything like that. They're trying to introduce legislature to tell social media platforms what they can and can't air. They're basically putting legislature in for censorship of social media. From the side that accuse the other side of censoring and using said platforms to manipulate the election, which they just did with the Twitter files that we haven't heard about yet. But at the Senate hearing that they invited RFK and a couple of other lawyer that was he from Georgia? I think he was from Georgia. Maybe he had a Supreme Court in Georgia about the censorship on different platforms. Anyway, they tried to censor the people that were the experts that were brought in on the censorship legislation.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, we encourage you. And if I remember, I'll try to put it in the show notes page. Just watch the little 5-minute exchange between Florida Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz and RFK Jr. She used her time to lob accusations at him, and if he dared to try to provide context or explain to her why she was wrong or misinformed or whatever, she just shouted him down. I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, and openly censored him in the meeting from defending himself from the accusations that she lobbed against him. So tyrannical mentality. And that's exactly what those people will do and have done all throughout history with power.
So, and again, he said somebody else said a line, I fucking can't remember it. It's like, if you look at history, the people that censored things, were they ever on the right side of history? No. And if you're telling yourself, well, maybe it's a forgivable sin that they did it in the 2020 election because it was for the betterment of the country. It definitely wasn't, and they definitely didn't do it once because they wouldn't introduce legislation that would let them do it again and again and again if they planned on not doing it again. So wake up, take those rose-colored glasses off, and start doing what the guy in the memes section said. Start growing, start learning, start looking at yourself. Self-reflection is key in this. We don't hate you, just be better.
So, another example of that totalitarian mind virus we have in the Epstein segment today, we have Lizzo.
Oh.
And I know you're thinking,
I'm going to need a cinnamon roll and an insulin shot for my diabetes.
I know you guys are thinking, how in the hell are these guys going to tie Lizzo?
Big fan.
With some historical lesson that proves to us that the more things change, the more they stay the same, and also that Epstein didn't kill himself. Well, here it is. So if you haven't heard, it's been a pretty big news story this week, the first week of August 2023, that Lizzo is not at all what she seems. She has built her brand on
shocking,
upbeat, powerful music,
woman,
and she's a body positivity icon, and she's just fantastic in every way you can possibly think of. Well, it turns out that this
performer, artist,
persona is its own straw man, because Lizzo has been accused in a civil lawsuit. So again, just because this is a technical legal thing that
it could be a Judge Judy
annoys
case.
Me when I see people do it. So I can't not remark on it here on this podcast, is when people say, haven't you ever heard of innocent until proven guilty? Yeah, you fucking moron. In criminal cases, this is a civil case. So yes, although none of this stuff has been proved yet, the lawsuit has just been filed, and maybe she didn't do any of these things or whatever. Stop saying the fucking innocent until proven guilty thing. This isn't a criminal case. Shut up. Or else you're like just more like the existential comics people. You're like, oh, I heard a funny little quip that makes me sound informed, so I'm going to say that and come to her defense. Like, it doesn't apply. So shut up. Anyway, I hate it.
I get it.
Everybody is saying that. It's so annoying.
You. Just be you, dog.
What was she accused of? Many things, in fact. She was accused of creating a hostile work environment. She was accused of sexual harassment. She was accused of discriminating or at least bullying on the basis of religion. She was accused of racial harassment, false imprisonment, interference with prospective economic advantage, and other allegations.
Dane,
now,
are you saying that a member of the entertainment realm that couldn't hear a bad word about her and has only been told that she's the best thing ever would have
no accountability?
No accountability for her own actions, or no self-doubt or self-critique that maybe she shouldn't be doing the thing to other people that they don't allow people to do to her?
Or that she goes all over the media and the media rushes to her defense every time she's bullied online for her weight. that she does the exact same thing to people in her life.
And you said she body shamed her dancers, right?
Yes. So 2 of the allegations that I want to focus on, because it really attacks her persona head on, is one is kind of a marriage between hostile work environment and sexual harassment. One of the allegations are that when she was I believe Amsterdam, she forced some of her dancers or other people on her team to eat bananas out of the vagina of sorry, I should have said earmuffs for any kids listening to the show.
Under the hoo-ha.
Of a dancer. Against this person's will.
First of all, don't you threaten me with a good time. Second of all, to steal work, well, these are accusations. But then again, we have to go back to their own verbiage and say we have to believe all women. Were these women making these accusations?
I don't know. I do know that a couple of them were dancers, so I assume. I mean, I've never seen a Lizzo performance, but I assume the dancers. They're probably not all men, but
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it was a woman, we just had to believe her.
Yeah. And so, anyway, so the other major accusation that I want to, before we move on to the historical lesson, is she allegedly commented repeatedly and derisively on the weight of at least one or multiple of her dancers, and suggested that based on their weight, they weren't taking the job seriously and probably weren't fit to do what they needed to do, and yada, yada, yada.
That's like,
isn't that funny? Isn't that grand?
Calling your fucking stunt double, you need to lose a couple of pounds. It's like, That's literally the pot calling the kettle fat. Yeah. I don't get it. Like, to be so self-unaware, isn't it just wonderful? Wouldn't you like to do that for a day? No, you wouldn't, because you'd go home at night and you'd reflect and you'd be like, oh, those people probably think I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I don't like being told I'm an asshole.
Well, see, but the thing is, that's a normal reaction that someone has that isn't catered to every second of their life. It really is that iron sharpens iron thing. Yeah. It's because she has never been faced with some of these self-critical character building experiences, like looking in the mirror and saying, did I do the right thing there? You know, that's what builds character. She probably doesn't look in many
mirrors anyway.
I wouldn't if I was her. They'd probably break. Is that she doesn't have to build any character because everybody around her is a yes man or woman. And she is constantly paraded through the media until now, as more on that in a second, as the greatest thing since sliced bread. And isn't she so wonderful? And people just hate her because she's large. She never had to build any character. And so, shocker, unaccountability with no character, turns out she is a complete terror to work for and work with. I know you're all shocked by that.
It feels so good. It feels so good to see that happen.
Yeah.
When you knew in your heart of hearts that she was nowhere near as wholesome. Of course did she even pretend to be wholesome?
Few people are as fantastic as they either portray themselves, or especially in the case of celebrities, as the media portrays.
Except for Paul Rudd.
I said very few. I didn't say none.
Got your back, Brad.
So anyway, moving on. So on to the Epstein part of this thing. What does Lizzo have to do with a historical lesson? And the lesson is actually what Lizzo is about ready to learn, is the lesson of the French Revolution. Just as a very brief trot through that historical event. As most of you will recall, this is actually one of the things that even in shitty public schools, they actually teach you the basics of it. They don't exactly
offense if you went to public schools.
They don't exactly connect the dots for. Well, it's not you, the student. It's the dereliction of duty from the bureaucrats that keep all the
curriculum,
the important stuff from you so that you don't learn from history and call them on their bullshit today. But anyway. As you'll recall from your elementary teachings on the French Revolution, there was this little thing called the Reign of Terror, where the people that ginned it up, led by an individual by the name Maximilien Robespierre, said, listen, we got to cut off the head of the king and all the aristocrats because they're really kind of shitty and they're lording it over us and they're just not good people. And so we're going to cut all their heads off. And then lo and behold, a year or so, a couple years go by, and Robespierre finds himself under the guillotine. And you think of that as a just, oh, isn't that a coincidence, a little historical oddity? Well, no, because that is the mind virus of leftism. And, why the French Revolution is particularly prescient today is our whole political ideas of left versus right comes out of the French Revolution. And this progressive left sort of totalitarian mind virus, the types of people they are what Lizzo is going to experience right now. They are moral relativists. So depending on what's right or wrong is completely up to the circumstances and whatever makes them feel good. They have absolutely no loyalty at all. They have no grounding in anything that you could categorize as, long-standing, familiar, community, trustworthy relationships. They are about get me what I want right now. Damn, come what may, I don't care, damn it all. And as soon as you're not useful to me, in the French Revolution, literally off with your head. But in Lizzo's case, you're out the window. So all the media, all the fawning, all the every time coming to her defense as some body positivity icon. If these allegations are proven and they get nastier as they go, as the week went on after these initial allegations were filed, more dancers, more people started to come out and say, they're courageous for doing this. I had a similar experience with Lizzo, so it ain't getting any better. And the more this stuff is actually proven, she's done in terms of being the darling of the media.
How's that Ellen show going now?
Ellen?
Ellen.
Oh, yeah. Ellen is another one exactly like this.
You don't remember that? She was the darling of the LGBTQ. She was so fun. Everyone had fun on her show. Then it came out that she's a fucking monster. And where's the Ellen show now?
Yeah.
So if it happened to
Ellen, you don't hear anything about her.
She'd been doing the damn thing for what, 30 plus years in the biz? Lizzo's been around for 2 years, 3 years, maybe? That ain't long, bro. They will forget your name so quick, and you won't be big and beautiful anymore. You'll just be a health risk. Yeah. That's all you are. You're a walking health risk. And I mean, it's kind of, in its own way, it's satisfying to see them eat their own so quickly. Yeah. But at the same time, if you were a good person, or if you had made any actual, dent or done anything good for the world, except for just taking and taking, like it seems like you did, I'd feel bad for you. But unfortunately, this is not one of those cases. I don't recall her ever doing any charity work. I pretty much again, even if he did, it was all a facade. Because if you're doing charity work and you're treating the normal people, it's like, what's the number one rule of like a first date or getting to know somebody or going out to dinner? What's the number one rule if you go to dinner with somebody? The best way to judge their character is what?
How they treat the waiter or waitress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's how you treat people who are below your station.
How you treat people who can offer you nothing.
Right. So
who can't do anything for you. So
clearly, if you're willing to do that to people that are helping you perform just at a lower level than you, what are you doing to a guy on the street? What are you doing to a fan? What are you doing to anybody else? It seems like you're very into yourself. And in this case, it seems justified to sit back and watch them eat you alive, because when you're their darling, ask Elon. The only thing, if you have an exit trajectory like Elon does, if you can make your own way, you don't need them.
Yeah.
The thing you fucked up was you didn't have an exit trajectory. You don't have enough clout to just exist without them, because you don't really offer much other than just derivative bullshit of art. So you're done. Yeah. And it's going to be fun to watch it happen.
And, the lesson for the rest of us is that French Revolution lesson, and why people with that particular mentality can never be allowed to have power. Because the progressive mindset, and this is where the word progressive comes from, progress, right? It's the concept of progress. It's always this amorphous, ill-defined, nebulous blob that they always say, well, we want progress. Well, what is progress? When you try to pin them down and get them to explain it, they can never give you a definitive answer. And that's not a bug, that's a feature. Because what underlies their flowery language about we want progress is constant change, as long as they're always the ones dictating where the change goes. Because if they say, look, we achieved progress on this thing, they'll say, that's great. Now we need progress here, and then 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 it just never stops.
Never woke enough.
And the reason why it never stops and why I say it's a feature, not a bug, is because they are totalitarians at their very core. They want to control everything and they never want an endpoint. This is why progressives can never give you an endpoint. It's always progressing to something else. Because as long as there's always something else to push for, there's another program, there's another regulation, there's another rule, there's another trench that they can line you up in front of, or another guillotine they can put you under that's justified because you weren't sufficiently down with the agenda of the next step in the progress. And so that's why these people can never have power. Lizzo is going to experience this firsthand at how unloyal these people are and when she's no longer useful to them. But for the rest of us, watch this episode, learn from the lessons of history and take heed. Never, ever, ever let people that have that worldview and espouse it and hold it sincerely anywhere near the levers of power. History has taught us that lesson again and again.
Or if the only lesson you take away from this is treat your wait staff better, so be it.
That as well.
Anyway.
That's a good action item for the end of the show.
Hey, just start with the next time you're at Chili's and be like, hey, you know what? You did great tonight. You got us. Yeah, the margarita was a little weak, but you know what? That's not your fault. You did a great job. Have a great night. Here's a nice tip. That's all you have to do. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard.
I know.
Just be fucking human for once. Anyway, on to the main, Brother Maynard.
Yes. On the main, we're lovingly calling this segment of the podcast the conspiracy
tinfoil
corner.
hat. Grab your tinfoil hats. Do it with me.
Tinny hat time. Because this isn't a super. I guess it is when we talk about the government involvement aspect, which isn't in this article, but. What we're talking about this week is SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. We talked about him again last week when the campaign finance charges against him were dropped. I assume that has just as much to do with the politicians that were the beneficiaries of that as it is to him personally for having the charges dropped. But there was a meme coin crash recently.
It's not easy to say.
Some crypto sleuths are, connecting some of the dots and tying them back to maybe this was SBF. Now, the reason why this is important and why it should not be SBF is because as a condition of his parole for not being sitting in a cage in federal pound me in the ass prison is that he is supposed to have no connection with his former companies, FTX or Alameda Research. And he is even has his internet usage severely curtailed. I don't know the exact specifics of it, but he basically can't go on the internet and just do anything he wants like the rest of us. He needs to keep it under wraps because just like, a criminal, why do they keep a criminal on house arrest? Because they don't want them to flee. Well, why do you keep a guy that stole hundreds of billions of dollars from people using the internet away from touching the internet? Because you don't want him to do more damage.
Shooters gotta shoot, Dane. Respect the game. All right?
So the meme coin that crashed recently is called Bald, and it is kind of a joking play on words because it was supposed to be mocking.
Do you ever feel like they just don't give a fuck about us?
Well, no, that's the whole
You ever feel
that's
like
the whole environment
we thought about this podcast
of meme
so much.
coins.
We came up with, or you came up with a great name for it. We put all this production into it. We tried our best to be slightly professional.
Yeah.
And some fucking dickhead makes a coin called Bald.
Yeah.
And it skyrockets.
Yeah.
And where's our skyrocket, Dane?
No.
I'm feeling a little mopey about our
prospects. So anyway, here's
not greasing the right palms.
The basic details of what happens. So the coin is called Bald because it's supposed to be mocking. And if you've ever seen a picture of him, maybe Nameless Faceless Guy can put one up. The Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong, he is very, very bald. And the coin launched on July 30th, and it took off to a 290,000% gain in its first 24 hours.
Like every other coin does, right?
Yeah. And Shortly thereafter, the anonymous person who made Bald, who made the meme coin Bald, withdrew over 10,000 Ethereum worth about $20 million, and 224 million of the meme coin, the Bald tokens, from liquidity, which caused the token's price to plummet by over 90%. So if you were an early investor and it shot up and you sold, good on you.
You did
but
great.
Most times people see it exploding already and they jump in, and then when it loses 90% of its value, they lose a ton of money. That's kind of a very simplistic version of what happened with FTX. The reason why SBF is in trouble in the first place is, mismanagement of funds that eventually cost people billions of dollars. At an
alarming rate.
Yeah.
Oh, was it the amphetamines and the nerdy group sex that they were having? Is that why he's
I'm
indicted?
sure that had something to do with it. So,
did you see any of the pictures of those guys?
Oh God.
Oh.
Don't make it. That's the shit that haunts your,
it's like
haunts your
you
dreams.
hear an orgy, you're like, all right. And then you turn it on, it's like, God damn it. It's just like the nude beach. The nude beach sounds like such a great idea until you show up and it's just a bunch of fucking old farts with their beer guts hanging out and their little testicles hanging. Yeah. Shit. That's like the fourth time. It's like the fourth time. They're like a game of Gnip down there. It's just hanging. Gravity doesn't stop, They're like earlobes.
Yeah.
They keep going.
So anyway, some crypto, sleuths over on Twitter or X now, are starting to connect some of the dots that, at least have some circumstantial evidence that point to SBF as potentially being the anonymous creator of this meme coin Bald. And just some of the data points that they suggest over there, and it's in the article down in the show notes page, so feel free to read it yourself, is thousands of Ethereum between FTX and Bald. The Bald deployer tweets have the same sentence structure as SBF. If you'll recall, before he got in trouble, he was tweeting all the time, and this anonymous person from Bald tweets in a very similar way to SBF. The Bald deployer was the biggest DYDX farmer, and the Bald deployer DYDX posts sound like SBF. Now, again, these are all just coincidences. There's nothing to prove definitively that SBF is the guy behind the rug pull that cost people millions of dollars in Bald. However, if it were him, there might be a reason why it were.
That's interesting, Dane. You want to tell me more?
Yeah. So if you'll recall, the SEC is charging SBF with a couple different things, not campaign finance law violations anymore. But the SEC is also in the middle of a lawsuit against Coinbase. And if you'll remember, Coinbase, the meme coin Bald was to mock the CEO of Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is trying to make the case that, the SEC is trying to make the case that Coinbase is operating as an unlicensed exchange. They're basically exchanging securities without a license from the SEC to do. So they don't have the government's permission slip to allow you to do what Coinbase allows you to do with different cryptocurrencies. And wouldn't it be really nice if the SEC had a little bit more ammo in their legal gun to shoot at Coinbase by pointing to, a token by the name of Bald, which has a 290,000% increase in 24 hours and then gets rug pulled, creating another massive swath of defrauded investors and angry people pointing, saying, see, this is bad. This is why we need more regulation. We need the SEC to do more. We need the SEC to crack down on Coinbase and Binance and these other crypto exchanges. It's a really convenient test case for the SEC.
Well, here's my point, Dane, is, okay, so I'll see the SEC and I'll see them cracking down. I'll even see the SBF sends. But what possible motive would SBF have of, I think you're insinuating basically a false flag operation, creating a crypto coin, having it rise dramatically, and then subsequently pull like you said, pull the rug out from under it and just pull a bunch of money out to destabilize it. Okay, so it would help the SEC in their fight, but what would help him, Dane? Is the SEC in charge of indicting him?
Well, yeah, I mean, they have charges levied against him currently, yes.
Oh, interesting. So just me being a dumb podcaster, he would be incentivized to do that by the SEC to help them out, so maybe they'd look a little more favorably on his charges, perhaps.
Yeah.
Is that the angle that we're trying to get at?
I guess what I'm hypothesizing is
Hypothecating.
is similar to the way the CIA uses hackers, right? So sometimes really savant level hackers, really brilliant guys, get caught by the government, and the government says, hey, you got skills.
We got you, bitch.
We can't teach. And so what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to, with our permission, hack into CIA databases and all of that kind of stuff, because we want you to try to find the holes, the chink in our security armor. And so if you're able to get in, you can tell us how you got in, and then we can plug that hole, and et cetera, and we can be more secure. Now, that doesn't hurt anybody directly in the sense that the hacker isn't stealing money from someone like something like this is. I mean, it hurts it in the sense that it helps the CIA continue to bomb innocent children halfway around the world.
Well, who cares about that?
But that's more of an indirect thing. But in exchange for not prosecuting the hackers for what they got caught for initially, they help the CIA become more effective at what they do. So it's not a super far stretch to think that the SEC, who wants to regulate the living shit out of crypto exchanges and anything cryptocurrency, because what the government hates more than anything is competition. And what cryptocurrency, most importantly, Bitcoin, is the government does not like a currency that they can't control. And that means that they can't print it into oblivion, which means they can't use it to fight their endless wars. They can't use it to implicitly steal from you, the masses, through the silent tax of inflation. Things like Bitcoin, not meme coins necessarily, things like Bitcoin are existential. And I use that with every sense of the word. Existential threats to the government's power, to the regime's power, because everything revolves around the ability to control money. That's why they have central banks. That's why all the central banks around the world are floating the idea of CBDCs, central banking digital currencies, because they want to destroy the assets they can't control, like Bitcoin. So yeah, it's not a super stretch to say, well, hey, SBF, you're kind of this little like wizard of stealing people and rug pulling money. You did it for hundreds of billions of dollars. Why don't you do it again so we can use it and cite it in our case against Coinbase so we can keep going after them?
Well, shit, Dane, when you say it like that, it sounds kind of logical, and I don't need this tinfoil hat after all this nonsense that we've talked about.
Yeah, just keep in mind, meme coins are the Trojan horse. What they're really after is Bitcoin. They want to destroy Bitcoin. They don't care how much money you lose on meme coins. They don't care if you're a defrauded investor. They're using that in their cases to be able to go after, hopefully regulate, and maybe eventually, in worst case scenarios, outlaw, as the Chinese government has, the use, trading, or any way other utilization of Bitcoin. That's what they're after. That Bitcoin is what terrifies them, and for all the reasons we've discussed previously and also stated here.
So watch your ass, protect your Bitcoin, and don't trust anybody with a really shitty haircut that claims to be a savant and uses the words like FTX and Alameda.
You know, this is not financial advice, but just 2 cents is a common sense conversation between us and you. Don't do the meme coin shit. Like, I feel, yes, I
Be
feel
responsible adults.
I feel sorry for the people that get rugged. I genuinely do. And I understand everybody wants to make a quick buck. And when you see that graph going virtually straight up, it's very exciting.
Get the fuck out.
But
get out before it turns.
But those meme coins are, it is the Wild West.
And just to steelman your argument, like, who would have bought bald coin? Who would have foreseen bald coin shooting up. What percentage did you say?
29,000%.
29,000%. Did they have a portfolio behind it, or was it just a coin that was?
No,
put
sorry,
out there?
not 29. Jesus, 290,000%.
290,000%. Well, Dane, that was quite off. How dare you?
Yeah, I was way off by a whole zero.
I guess my whole point is like it all of it stinks to high heaven. Like, why would you buy a Dogecoin? Because Elon told you to. Well, okay, that's cool. Like, was there a portfolio that you got when you bought Baldcoin? Like, did they take, this is how our business is structured, and this is the investments that are.
Yeah, I don't know much anything about Baldcoin, but I do know this is that the value proposition, and this is, again, we encourage you to read the book, What Has Government Done to Our Money? It's a very small little book written by Murray Rothbard, and he takes you through the historical history, where money comes from, and again, it's not the king issues, a coin and that's, now tradable in the economy for other goods and services. No, like money has a very specific use. It has a very specific function within an economy, and understanding where it comes from and what gives it its value will kind of inoculate you to all of the bullshit that central banks and governments try to tell you about, trust our fiat currency that we can just print at will. Nothing bad will happen. Well, the reason why Bitcoin is so important is because it has that cap. Once 21 million Bitcoin are mined, there will never be another Bitcoin as long as humanity exists on this planet. And that's what gives it its value, its scarcity that you cannot inflate away. These meme coins do not operate like that. Dogecoin does not operate like that. Ball does not. The creator, this anonymous guy, whether it's SBF or otherwise, can just print a bunch of more Bald coins whenever he wants, much like the Fed. He can push a button. The creators of Doge can do that because it's written into the code of the coin. Bitcoin, it is written into the code. If you have not read it yet, please do yourself a favor. It's not super complex. Read the white paper written by Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin, who still to this day has never come forward and taken credit for it. In the white paper, they explain why there is the cap, what gives money value, and all this kind of stuff, and why Bitcoin is a challenge to fiat currencies. And that was their goal when they created it. Look for coins that have scarcity built into it. Look for the inability of some random guy sitting behind a computer to be able to rug pull you like this overnight. Stay away from those and stay more attuned and more focused on those scarce assets that can't be inflated away. Bitcoin is a public ledger that everybody can see, and that's important. The transparency, again, something you don't have with fiat dollars, et cetera, et cetera. The benefits of Bitcoin as a money are so numerous, and that's why it has the staying power that it does. And so if you're going to delve in the world of crypto, all meme coins are not like Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, very few are. And so don't fall for their trap when they try to, put the cheese on and, to get you to fall into it and try to say, well, everything needs to be regulated, including Bitcoin. That's what they want with this stuff. Don't fall for it.
Well,
sorry, you got way more than you asked for.
Shit. Just to tie that one up, the people that are trying to get a hold of Bitcoin are also the same people that are used to call our American dollar a fiat currency, right?
Yeah.
Well, we just got, I can't believe we haven't mentioned it until now on this podcast, but didn't we just get our credit score downgraded from AAA to AA this week?
Yeah.
So
our leaders are doing good things.
They're not doing so hot running our own fiat, but they want, again, in typical government fashion, we just don't have enough control over all the money. So just give us more. Give us Bitcoin. We'll run it fine. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But you can always trust them, right?
Always. And if history's taught you anything, it's that these people have your best interests in mind. They're the most competent that we have.
They stay up at night thinking about
really
you
good. Yeah.
and making sure that you're safe.
Yeah.
And have enough money and food and shelter.
Thinking about you in a take care of you sort of way, not a creepy, touching themselves sort of way.
Maybe nice to be thought of in any way. That's all I'm saying. All right, Dane. Well, with all that being said, where can they find this illustrious episode of Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast?
You can find episode 157 at wmdpodcast.com/157.
See, gets the best of us.
Yeah, tongue-tied. They can find the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. They can get the videos on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. They can link up with us on our non-podcast socials, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, Tribel, Float. They can get into the private members only Facebook page at $5 a month or more of support. Just go to the Support Our Work tab over on the website at wmdpodcast.com to figure out how to do that. They need to jump on the email list. Again, over at the website homepage, click the link, join our email list to stay up to date with the show at all times. They can text their name or anything else to 610-596-WMDP or 610-596-9637 for our automated text service. Again, updates on the show, gives you merch discount codes, and all other kinds of benefits and ways to stay in contact with the show. And, with that being said, we do have, if you want to donate some Bitcoin, we have our own wallet linked down in the comments. You can click on that and throw us, a 0.0000001 Bitcoin. We'd appreciate it. You can also financially support the show monthly, one-time donation, any way you want to do that. You can buy merch from us. Lots of ways to support the show, but most importantly, any platform you see us, if there's a like button, a subscribe button, a share button, there's a comment section, please do all of the above. Helps us with the algos, gets us out to more people, and most importantly, tell friends and family about us.
Or get in the comment section and tell us that we're stupid and dumb and fat and ugly.
Yeah. We're not controlling your speech. You can say anything you want.
We're fatter than Lizzo.
Can't promise that YouTube won't cancel you.
We're more
we won't.
treacherous than SBF.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, with all that being said, memes, stay safe, but more importantly, guys, stay free.